Welcome to the Afterspin, opinions from thought leaders in our state. I want to ask John Hood and Chris Fitzsimon, how long should law enforcement be allowed to detain a motorist? That was the question our Court of Appeals was asked recently following a case where a driver was stopped for speeding and subsequently detained for a search for drugs. The Court of Appeals ruled that the driver's Fourth Amendment rights were violated, while the defendants in the case maintained there was a reasonable suspicion other laws had been violated. What's your take? How long should a person be detained? Chris?
Well, I don't know if there's a definite time, but I think we do have Fourth Amendment rights against unlawful search and seizure. And I think just because you're speeding doesn't mean that the police officer, unless there is obvious and I don't know what the right legal term is, but a very strong probable cause that that you have drugs or there's a reason to do that, cannot search your car unless they ask you. And this is one of those things where there's not going to be a stopwatch, but I think the Court of Appeals is right, and I'd rather protect somebody's right to be harassed unlawfully. And this is just something we're going to have to work out with our police forces.
John?
While I am sorely tempted to disagree with Chris because that's what I do, in this case I do think the Court of Appeals got it right. We can't have a system where police officers can take the opportunity of a stop for a speeding ticket to just sort of fish around and see what else they can come up with. Now, I know they're going to resent that characterization, but I also know enough cases, and you hear enough cases, and I think that in this particular case, the arguments were persuasive that this was not an appropriate thing to do. I think that the government has appropriate roles to play in policing our society, keeping us safe, protecting our rights. The government is always a dangerous tool, and it should be wielded very carefully and sparingly.
How do you respond, both of you, to the charges that this will just hamstring our law enforcement officials? Chris?
Well, again, if there's obvious and very probable cause, not using the legal language, that they think there's something going on or there's drugs present, that then there's a way to do that. But John is right. You can't just have police just searching people at will for no reason at all, keeping people on the side of the highway for a long time, going on fishing expeditions. I think we have to balance these rights, and I think the court did that appropriately.
John?
I think this is all about balancing rights. And we do have a constitutional right, a basic right of personal freedom to be secure in our persons and our property. And the state should have a pretty high bar, in my opinion, to jump over to engage in searches and detentions.
Well, thank you for watching the Afterspin. We'll have more video all during the week on ncspin.com.